Back now with my exclusive sit down here in Dallas with immigration and customs enforcement agents, a group we rarely hear from. Take a listen to their thoughts on being called, quote, Nazis and their message to sanctuary cities around the United States.
You ever watch someone smile while evil breathes through their teeth? That's Martha MacMuzzle, our prim and powdered queen of controlled messaging, perched at the Fox News desk like a blonde apologist for bureaucracy with a badge. And look, I love her too. I love how she commits to the bit, how she softballs fascism with the sincerity of a kindergarten teacher reading Ayn Rand to toddlers. She's like the corporate news version of that friend who says, I don't support the patriarchy, but I totally get why it needs a strong leader. So there she is, sitting across from a couple of ICE agents, nodding earnestly as they explain, through stammering press-trained word salad, that everything is fine. Better than fine. The system's just faster now. More removals, more detentions, more boots on more necks. But it's okay because the mission hasn't changed. Cool. So we're not brutal in new ways, just more efficient at the old brutality. Let's break this shit open. They say the pace has increased, which sounds like someone upgraded their deportation software and forgot to tell the Constitution. One of them proudly announces that more individuals are being held in custody. Now, meaning we've moved from catch and release to catch and cage. They say this like it's progress, like the metric of justice is body count and bed quotas. And Martha doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, just sips her dignity latte while democracy dies in the corner. But here's where it really starts to burn. They brag about not removing the right to a bond hearing. Oh, how noble. But here's what they don't say. The backlog for immigration court is astronomical, the standards for flight risk are vague and biased, and many immigrants are denied bond for reasons as arbitrary as they didn't speak English or they looked nervous. And Martha just lets it ride, because asking questions would mean she'd have to care, and Martha MacMuzzle is not here to care, she's here to clarify the brand. Next we get to the part where the agents explain collateral arrests, which is a cute little phrase, right? Sounds like something you'd hear in a military briefing about drone strikes, not a fucking domestic law enforcement interview. They say, casually like they're discussing leftovers, that when they go looking for one undocumented person with a warrant, they also arrest anyone else they find who shouldn't be here. Like, oh hey, sorry, we were just raiding your cousin's house, but since you're standing in the kitchen without papers, we're bagging you too. This is racial profiling by shotgun blast. Not precision. Not accountability. Just round up whoever's brown and breathing undocumented air. And what does Martha do? She nods. She leans forward. She gives that Fox News homeroom teacher vibe like, gosh, that must be hard for you. No challenge. No mention of the constitutional grey zone ICE operates in. No digging into how this shatters trust in immigrant communities or how it erodes due process like acid. Just thank you for your service, eyes and camera-friendly silence. And here's what's dangerous. When they say they're enforcing immigration and administrative law, it makes it sound clean, sterile, like paperwork. But these aren't parking violations. These are midnight knocks. Children watching their parents hauled off. Lives evaporated in fluorescent-lit processing centres. And Martha? She sanitizes it, makes it digestible for suburban viewers who want to feel safe without asking who they're being kept safe from, what ICE calls collateral, we call people. And this is the point in the interview where the agents start to get a little emotional. Not about the families they disappear, mind you. No, about being called Nazis.
In terms of how ICE is presented in the media and by some members of Congress. This is from a Rhode Island state representative reacting to an ICE arrest of an admitted MS-13 member in Providence, Rhode Island, saying the Nazi Gestapo ICE thugs kidnapped another one of our neighbors in Providence this morning. They think they're above the law. I strongly condemn this act of terror. And he's not the only one who refers to ICE as Nazi or Gestapo. Paul, what goes through your mind when you hear that?
Now we reach the moment of raw, unfiltered victimhood. The ICE agents, dressed in government steel and institutional power, look into the camera and tell us that people call them Nazis. And I mean, let's just pause here. These are men with guns and tactical gear who forcibly remove people from homes, separate families, and disappear human beings into labyrinthine detention systems where phone access is a luxury and medical care is a roulette wheel. And they're upset because someone compared them to fascists. If you're enforcing laws that result in children being orphaned by policy and you aren't getting called a Nazi, maybe you're not working hard enough. But instead of reflection, we get this little monologue. We're just enforcing administrative law. That's the phrase they use. Administrative. Like, this is DMV level bureaucracy. Like, ICE is just sorting fucking mail. And Martha? She just lets the line hang in the air like it's scripture. No mention of the history ICE drags behind it. No reference to the black sites, the abuses, the detainees who've died in custody. She lets them tell the story where they're misunderstood heroes, pushed too far by a rude public that dares to see the machinery for what it is. One of the agents even says, "I haven't met anybody that works for ICE that is ashamed of what they do." That's not a flex, that's a warning. Because if not one person in your system is ashamed, then your system is perfectly designed to destroy empathy. That's not patriotism. That's moral rot. And when they say they're proud, it's not pride in law, justice, it's pride in order, pride in being the strong hand. The ones who never have to question whether they're the villains, because the uniform says otherwise. And Martha, God bless her mascara, she just watches, complicit, quiet, letting federal agents paint themselves as martyrs while human beings rot in privatised detention centres fitted as dormitories. Now we arrive at the sermon, the part where one of the agents, likely the one who reads bumper stickers for moral guidance, delivers his heartfelt plea to sanctuary cities. Listen to your constituents, he says. Do they want safe communities? Do they want to feel safe taking their kids to the park at night? On paper, that's a fine sentiment. Who doesn't want safety? Who doesn't want peace at night? But let's unmask this real quick. Because when ICE says safe, they don't mean safe for everyone. They mean safe for the right kind of people. What they're selling is an equation where brown bodies equal threat and federal muscle equals peace, where safety means removing the undocumented housekeeper, the day labourer, the kitchen worker, the father who's been in the country for 2 decades. And sanctuary cities? Those are just the places that refuse to hand over their neighbours to the meat grinder. Here's the part ICE will never say out loud. Real safety doesn't come from fear. It doesn't come from raids, racial profiling, or ghosting people into bureaucratic hell. Real safety is built on trust, and ICE burns trust like gasoline. In sanctuary cities, when police are seen as ICE proxies, immigrant communities go silent. Witnesses don't testify, victims don't report, crimes go unsolved. The whole system corrodes. But ICE agents, and Martha MacMuzzle right there beside them, push the myth that if you oppose their tactics, you're endangering America. They frame it like a choice between loving your kids and loving immigrants, as if one excludes the other. It's not law enforcement. It's emotional blackmail in a federal uniform. And Martha, still sitting like a curated portrait of news anchor objectivity, lets the argument hang in the air like gospel. No follow-up, no counterpoint. Just empty reverence for the men with badges and the lies they're licensed to tell. Now let's pull the curtain back on the stage itself, because underneath all the badge polish and dormitory fairy tales, this interview isn't journalism. It's political theatre. When Martha MacMuzzle sits across from ICE agents and asks questions with all the force of a sleepy goldfish, she's not investigating, she's endorsing. This isn't a story about immigration enforcement. It's a campaign ad for state control, dressed in the costume of objectivity. The agents say the system hasn't changed, only the pace has. But then they mention Trump's goal, removing 1 million people a year, and how they're still working toward that dream like it's a merit badge in cruelty. They even try to draw a line between now and Obama's administration, saying, well, technically the detention policies are similar, but the backlash now is just louder. Of course it is. Because Trump didn't just enforce the law, he used it like a branding iron. He made it performative, loud, visible, brutal in both function and message. And this interview, this is the aftershock. It's about laundering that legacy, keeping the optics clean so the machine can keep churning in peace. ICE doesn't need to explain itself. It needs to be seen explaining itself. And Fox News, especially Martha MacMuzzle, is all too eager to oblige. Because she's not here to challenge power, she's here to manage it, polish it, narrate its sins into digestible sound bites for the American dinner table. She plays it like she's above the fray, like this is balanced journalism, but neutrality in the face of state violence isn't neutral. It's complicity with better lighting. And while she's busy handing these agents a free PR campaign, she's also sending a message. If you wear a uniform and smile politely, your story will be heard, no matter how many people disappear behind it. So, here we are, full circle. A Fox News segment disguised as reportage starring Martha MacMuzzle, America's most soothing emissary of institutional rot. She never raises her voice, never questions a claim, never names a lie. And that's exactly what makes her dangerous. Because Martha doesn't need to shout like Tucker, she doesn't need to froth like Hannity. Her role is more elegant, more lethal. She makes the machine look civilized. She's the clean white glove on the hand that grabs the undocumented mother at 5 a.m. She's the sympathetic nod while a man in uniform talks about detaining people in dorms. She's the polite sigh when someone compares ICE to Nazis, as if the real problem is being called a name, not enacting the policies that earned it. She is soft power in service of hard violence. And this interview? It's her lullaby to a nation desperate to feel moral while it does immoral things. She gives ICE a stage, lets them airbrush their image, and never once asks the obvious. Why are we doing this? Who does it really protect? What does it cost to believe this lie? And that's the core of it. Martha isn't here to inform. She's here to anesthetize, to whisper that everything is fine while people have vanished, families are broken, and the language of human rights is replaced with sanitized terms like removal and custody. You want a roast? Here's the burn. Martha MacMuzzle is the face you put on Empire when you want it to feel maternal. She is the news anchor version of "we're doing this for your safety," and behind that smile is a void where accountability goes to die. This wasn't an interview, it was a state-sponsored bedtime story, and Martha told it beautifully. Thanks for watching, thanks for raging, and remember, if the state wants you silent, shut the fact up means scream louder. See you in the next one, fuckers.